Hello, I'm Jeff McBride, and welcome. In this video, we'll be looking at the classical side of magic and finding new ways to update these effects. Well, let's take a closer look. Let's start with a talk about the dancing cane. Now, the dancing cane is a great effect for movement. It teaches the performer how to move across the stage, and it's one of the few effects where the entire body is engaged. Let's look at the principle of how it works. It's just a string and a cane, but the balance is very important. And also, I really like the cane as a prop on stage because it expands you out into space. I worked for years in rock and roll, opening for bands, and one of my favorite performers is Alice Cooper. A couple of years ago, I had the opportunity to travel and tour with Alice Cooper, and every show he has a prop in his hand. Almost every number he has a prop in his hand, whether it's a cane or a sword or a baseball bat or a crutch, something to make him bigger. And the cane, the staff, is kind of like the magician's wand. And I think for as long as there have been magicians, there have been magic wands, and maybe magicians trying to float the magic wands. But from our research and asking my friend Stephen Minch, where did the dancing cane come from, he said to me that in 1837, there was a book called The Magician's Own Book, and there was mention of a floating cane on a string, and there is some evidence that Hofzinser was credited with that invention. In Bart Whaley's The Encyclopedic Dictionary of Magic, it says that a new modern version was innovated by Fantasio. It's a great effect. The only drawback the dancing cane has really is that it's a string trick, and the lighting is absolutely crucial. Unless you turn out all the lights and paint the cane day glow and turn on a black light, then you can do the dancing cane for a while and people might not think it's a string. The string is very important. You can experiment with different kinds of strings. My friend Johnny O, who is an expert on the dancing cane, says to use cotton-coated nylon thread, carpet thread. Cotton-coated nylon carpet thread. Say that 3 times fast. I use some German thread. This is some German thread. This is Gutermann thread. And I've had some success with this because it doesn't shine too brightly. To show you how the cane works, I'm going to switch to a lighter thread, a lighter colored thread, so you can actually see what's happening. Another problem with the dancing cane is most people fall in love with the dancing cane and they're out there for way too long, and the audience now knows it's a thread. But let's look at some of the basic movements of the dancing cane. I'm going to take off this thread. Now, this is an aluminum dancing cane. It's very solid. For traveling, I've had a little bit of, well, I've had a hard time with some of the balsa canes breaking on me. And this one packs real small. It will fit right into my commando case if I need to do a stage show. It's an aluminum cane, screws together. And another thing I like about these type of canes, unlike the wood canes, is they have a much larger hole to feed the string through. I have a piece of dental floss, and I'll show you the proper length. I first came across the dancing cane in a Genie magazine. There was an illustration by the late Mickey O'Malley of the dancing cane, and I kind of wanted to play around with the effect, but I had no one to teach me. And reading dancing cane out of a book is very difficult because it's all these subtle movements with your body. So pretend that this string is black, and we'll get to teaching you the moves. The balance point is very, very crucial when you're setting up the dancing cane. It's just a little bit above the center point, just a little bit. This is where the string goes, and you'll notice it's a little heavy that way, just about a ½ an inch above the balance point of the cane. Right about there. Okay, so look where that is. Now, you could probably make one of these up at home with a dowel, a white dowel, and some cotton coated carpet thread. Also, I bring the string up just slightly above it because there's some nice moves. Just about 2 inches above is enough. Now, you might want to experiment with a long thread, but you have more control with the shorter thread. How long is the thread? About 1.5 inches above the cane, I have found works well for me, but experiment with different thread sizes. There we go. Tying a knot, just tie some knots that won't come out. That's 1 knot, and then I'll do a couple more to make sure it doesn't come out. And then if I was performing on stage, I'd make sure to really trim this thread down because the thread does travel and dust collects on the knot. So you want to keep the knot small as you're moving around throughout the routine. And we'll trim off the excess. Well, I'm going to tie 1 more knot. This is a live video shoot, so 1 for good luck. All right. And my knot's a little large. You are going to see it. And we'll trim off the ends. So let's start with the basic movements now that you see how to thread the cane and the proper length. On the right thumb, if the cane is balanced right, and you play with this a little bit, it'll take some experimentation. Just start moving the cane back and forth. Back and forth. And now you can make circles, almost keeping your body still. A lot of performers, Silvano, they do a whole routine just with this sort of a movement. You'll see my thread, since it's not spinning, is kind of wrapping up on me. It's kind of twisting. Make sure that you go, for every revolution one way, you go back the other way, especially during practice sessions, or you're going to get into a knotty problem. So I was going this way, so let me go back the other way now. And just start doing this. And this will begin to become easier and easier. Another thing to watch yourself on the video camera for is moving the hand that's connected to the string too much or having it look different. You want to have the hands mirroring each other. And I almost move the hand that's not connected more to bring attention to that hand instead of the hand that it's actually attached to, drawing the eye to the hand that has no gaff or gimmick on it. Now let's look at some of the basic dance moves. Side to side, just out and back, out and back, out and back, back and forth, and this becomes very meditative and dance-like and a lot of fun. Back and forth, a circle in, back and forth, a circle out, back and forth. So this is a good drill. In, out, and notice how the whole body is engaged. Once you start doing the dancing cane, it becomes very addictive. Oh yeah, I'm flying now. Whoa, let me come back to earth. That was great. I'm going to untangle my thread, and I'll show you some of the more advanced moves. Turning with the cane. Again, turning with the cane. Around the body. Notice how my hand kind of turns on its side as I go around my head. This is to allow the thread to come back around my hand. Watch again. The hand turns in and around. Boom. A nice opening for the dancing cane. Picking up the cane, sometimes I'll have a little piece of Velcro at the top to put the string up against. I'll have the hook Velcro, just a little piece around the top of the cane. And if I press the string, it'll stick against the Velcro, so I can lean it against the table. My hand goes right in the loop and pulls the string off of the Velcro. It keeps it from being all down here and me having to futz with it to try to find it. So the opening, I pick up the cane, I put my middle finger on top of the cane, let me uncross my thread, kicking the cane in a circle and then trapping it and going right back down. Now with If you don't see the thread there, it's a very subtle kind of an opener. To be standing on stage, boom, all of a sudden that cane floats around in a circle. That's a nice opening move. Now in a routine, instead of just doing a bunch of moves, where do we go next? Well, grabbing the cane, coming up, having the cane float up in the hand and then back down. Making a ring out of the fingers, I just pull the thumb and the cane goes up, hypnotizing the cane. Up and down. The reason I like this one as a slow opener is because the audience is dead on to the thread. They're not, this is the side view now. The thread is going back along your arm and there's not that much to catch because the thread is along the cane. So I like that move. Another move that's popular is this kind of hypnotizing the cane, floating the cane, levitating the cane just on your fingertips, sort of like magnetism. The reason I don't like this move particularly, but I wanted to put it in for, well, just for completion's sake, is because the audience is looking here. And there's a lot of heat on this, and I've never got it quite to the point where my thumb looked quite relaxed. And every time I've seen a performer do it, well, something just wasn't right. Perhaps you'll take this move and do something wonderful with it. So there you are. Now for an ending. We have a couple of moves, just a few moves. The kick opening, perhaps the floating up, a back and forth. Wow, what happened? I like that. I like doing that to an audience. Uh-oh, something happened, and then stopping. Maybe twirling the cane. This is another good dead-on move. Twirling it dead-on to the audience. They don't see the thread. So that one I do like. Back and forth. Back, under, around the body, under the arm, up, and over for the finale. Let's take a look at that over-the-hand finale. Now, this move was first shown to me by Denny Haney of Denny and Lee's Magic Shop over in Baltimore, and it's a great finale move because you end in such a triumphant position. So let's see how we get into that. It's kind of a variation on a very difficult move that I dropped from my routine, which is this over-the-arm move. Bringing it up and over the arm. And it's kind of doing that and making a mistake. Winding up by bringing it around inside to the outside of your body, then up, hitting it on your arm, and the string is just getting wrapped around your wrist. And because the length is just about an inch, inch and a half above the cane, it puts your hand in the exact right position to catch the cane. If you do this move too quickly, with too much force, you're going to break the thread. Let's look at that again. Outside, bringing it inside, around, up, hitting the cane, twirling into the finale pose. Now, depending on how close your audience is, they might see the thread around your hand. So as soon as you hit that pose, come up the other way and drop the hand down, hiding the thread, and now you can, as you turn to set the cane down, pull your hand back, unwrapping your fingers, and set the cane down. So an ideal routine in an ideal world would be very short and sweet and wouldn't give the audience time to even think string. And here's a little thing you might be aware of the next time you're at a magic show, or you might even hear it when you're on stage, is this. That's the sound of an audience spotting your string because they whisper to each other and they go, he's got a string, he's got a string. And you hear that like little ripple. And if you're hearing that, and I heard it before, and I've dimmed the lights, then backed up or dropped the effect from my show, watch out for that. Sounds like lights out at the reptile house, if you ask me, and that's every reason in the world why you should be very careful in doing string tricks for the public. If they think string, they've nailed you. An ideal routine, pick up the cane, the foot move. Now my inner script is, uh-oh, the cane is being magical. Let's see what happens if I do that. Oh, the cane is floating up and down. Now the audience isn't hearing any of this. It's just my little inner dialogue. Wow, what was that? Let me see if I do that again. And, oh, wow. This is a magical cane. And notice I'm keeping the string very parallel to my arm, so the audience is going to catch a whole lot of it. Now the rest of the routine is, okay, let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, around the body, down, up, over the top, finale, pose. And that is a little of my work on the dancing cane. Back in the 1700s, Dr. Samuel Johnson said, "A man may be so much of everything that he is nothing of anything." Let's think about this. There are many magicians that know hundreds of effects, but don't do any of them well. Do one thing better than anyone else, and start with that one thing. Years ago, Rudy Kobe was working at the Orange County Fair, and I was doing shows. He was working on one thing. 3 minutes, just the legs act. And that's all he focused his energy on. And he was able to take that 3 minutes and turn it into a career. When you think of Lance Burton, he worked on this manipulative act, just a few minutes on stage with birds, cards, and candles. And he focused all of his energy on that. And then the rest of his career took off from that. Jonathan and Charlotte Pendragon worked on one grand illusion their entire lives. They've been working on the metamorphosis and still continue to evolve this. We know a lot of tricks. You're learning more right now. But select one of the effects on this tape, perfect it, and you'll be better than anyone else. Remember, do one thing well. Keep a secret? It's one of the hardest things for magicians to do. And a lot of the information in this series has been passed on to me, and I'm passing it on to you. So respect these secrets and honor them and share them with your audiences, but keep the mystery alive.